So the NBA season is starting up this week. Yes, we get real NBA basketball that matters. And I've talked about a lot of teams on this channel. I've talked about the Nuggets and their potential title contention. I've talked about the Memphis Grizzlies and why a lot of people shouldn't be sleeping on them. I've talked about the Warriors, the Lakers. I've talked about so many teams. There's one other team in particular that I really want to touch on. The Brooklyn Nets, man. When they made the moves to get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, a lot of people saw this team as a perennial championship contender. They were a team that many people expected to at least win one championship within the next 5 or so years, and when they traded for James Harden, that kind of solidified their chances. Going into the 2021 playoffs, they were the favorites. It was pretty obvious, and I mean, if it wasn't for a Kyrie Irving ankle injury, you could say it's caused by Giannis, whatever, and James Harden's hamstring literally falling off the bone, I think it's safe to say that they would be champions at this point in time. But of course, that's an alternate reality. We live in one reality, and those things did happen, and unfortunately, it costed them. Moving forward, the world went into a global pandemic, and because of this pandemic, it forced their star player in Kyrie Irving to miss most games. Now you can say it's his fault, whatever. I don't want to get into the politics, but either way, that just messed up the chemistry of the team. Kyrie Irving and James Harden were kind of butting heads, and in turn, it led to the trading of James Harden. James Harden is now on a rival 76ers team, and in return, they got back Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Andre Drummond, who is not with the team anymore. This year is a new team. It's a new season to try and capture that first championship in franchise history, and it starts on Thursday. I think the first game is, I don't know, but it starts soon. Ben Simmons is finally going to be able to play basketball. Kyrie Irving will finally have all the vaccination hoopla in the past, and Kevin Durant is looking to put the trade talks in the past, man. So I have to pose the question, is this finally the year that the Brooklyn Nets put it all together? Let's get into it. So when talking about the Brooklyn Nets, of course, you got to start off with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Those are the catalysts of this team's success. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving signed in the same offseason. Two best friends, two great friends, looking to join up forces and play basketball together is what it ultimately came down to. Kyrie Irving, for the last 2 seasons, was a 27-point per game guy, but we know what Kyrie Irving is. And the same can be said for Kevin Durant. I mean, an MVP, a champion, 30-point per game guy in his sleep. We know what he does as well. And those two are what drives his team. Now, last season, of course, it didn't look well. It was very ugly. But like I said a little bit earlier, the biggest problem was that Kyrie Irving just was not playing. It was hard for them to get into a rhythm. It was hard for them to gain chemistry. And ultimately, it led to that sweep. But another reason as to why that was the case was because they didn't have the player that they traded a superstar for. Ben Simmons is the next player that I'm looking to talk about. The first overall pick coming out of LSU, man, Ben Simmons was looked at as a generational talent. He was the next LeBron James, or supposedly going to be the next LeBron James. This 6'10 freak athlete that could pass like the best point guards in the game. The biggest question mark for him, however, was his shooting, and that is still a question mark to this day. He has all the accolades. He's made an All-NBA. He's been an All-Star, all of that. But the biggest problem with him is that he's just scared to shoot, or he can't shoot. He's made a couple of threes in his career, but that's only a couple. And in today's league, if you're non-existent from 3, it's going to be a big detriment to your team's success. Now, I don't know why Ben Simmons has this. I don't know why he doesn't want to shoot the ball. There's a lot of conspiracy theories, but the biggest thing is that I just don't know if he has the right people in his corner. His shooting coach is his brother. I don't think that really helps. And he's never been one to really blame himself. When the whole thing went down with the Sixers, he's passing up the wide open dunk over top of Trae Young. The fingers were pointed to Doc Rivers and the Sixers. And at some point, the finger has to be pointed to him. At some point, it has to be Ben Simmons' fault that this is the type of scrutiny surrounding Ben Simmons' name. Look, at the end of the day, the only person that can fix Ben Simmons, the only person that can make Ben Simmons shoot, the only person that can turn Ben Simmons into the monster that he's supposed to be is Ben Simmons, and he gets the chance to do that this season. Now, we have the big 3, but aside from that, things get a little bit concerning. For one, their starting center is Nicholas Claxton, and I just don't think he's a top 20 to 25 center in today's NBA. I truly believe there are some backups that are better than Nick Claxton. He's extremely lanky, and he's just a black hole on offense. I mean, what does he really provide except the fact that he's lengthy so he can be a decent, like rim runner or something? But is that really what the Nets need? I'm not sure. I feel like the Nets would benefit highly from like a defensive anchor down there, and they just don't have that, and they don't really have the assets to acquire that. And I question his fit alongside Ben Simmons because Ben Simmons, like we said, is not a shooter. He doesn't shoot the ball at all, so a lot of the pick and roll actions just won't look good. And that's also a harp on Ben Simmons' side. I mean, if he's a pick and roll ball handler, how well is that really going to operate? And then outside of Nicholas Claxton, there is Patty Mills, but Patty Mills at this point is 34 years old, and unless he's scorching hot from three, I'm just not really sure how much he provides. Joe Harris missed a lot of last year with the lower leg injury, and to be honest, over the last 2 seasons just has not looked too good. But on the bright side, there's Seth Curry, who when healthy is a great sniper. I mean, he's a near 50% three-point shooter, which is insane to say. It also isn't like he's strictly a catch and shoot guy as well. He can definitely operate off the dribble. He's a decent tertiary playmaker for this Nets team. Now we got to talk about the young players on this Nets team. Cam Thomas, he's another LSU product, and I mean, he's definitely a scorer, man. He has some real talent. It's just he has to get the opportunity to showcase it. He's grown really close with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and I don't think that's just by accident. I feel like they really believe that he can be something in this league, and it's up to Steve Nash to give him an opportunity to showcase that. They also spent a first-round pick on Royce O'Neal, which is a solid option to replace Bruce Brown. I liked Royce O'Neal in Utah, but I question how much of his success defensively was because of Rudy Gobert versus how it'll look now without Rudy Gobert. And then how can we forget TJ Warren? Bubble TJ Warren was a real thing, you know, but since the bubble, he basically has not played, and he's still nursing that ankle injury. We don't know when he's going to be able to suit up for the Brooklyn Nets. And this team is put together by Coach Steve Nash. Now, I'm not too sure if Steve Nash is the coach for this job. He doesn't really have the experience, and I feel like he could definitely get outcoached in a lot of situations, especially after what we just seen. In my opinion, as they stand right now, I might not even see this team making it out of the first round. Ben Simmons is going to be an offensive liability come playoff time. And just how much can KD and Kyrie Irving really do? You know, how much can they really backpack to put this team over the hump? I mean, you talk about what the Nets were of old, the core they built up, the culture they had. Was it really worth getting rid of all of that for KD, Kyrie Irving, and a year and a half of James Harden? I'm not too sure. And soon, they're probably going to have to make some harsh decisions that are really going to shake up that organization.